there's this saying that I like, heights of great men or great companies reached and kept were not attained by sudden flight, but while their companions slept, toiled upward throughout the night. And so what I believe that innovation is that process of filling your cup with ideas that are going to materialize in terms of success into the future.
What's up, brother?
Yes, Sean, what's going on, man? How's been the week?
Doing good, man. And hi, everybody out there. Definitely thank you again for joining and welcome back to a brand new episode of As Is To Be. I am your co-host, Sean Achimpong, Digital Transformation Specialist. And our other co-host, Carl, I'll let you introduce yourself.
I'm Carl Reed. I sometimes go by Creed. I'm also a digital transformation specialist that specializes in continuous improvement across multiple sectors.
Fantastic. And we have a very special guest today, Kwesi Redwood. Thank you for joining.
Hey, thank you for having me. Great to be here.
Absolutely. Let me break down and tell you a little bit about Kwesi. He is a founding principal at Fit Operations Consulting Incorporated. Over the course of his 18-year career with both Fortune 100 companies and as a business owner, Kwesi helped organizations 10x their growth so that they can deliver sustainable innovations to customers, culture, and internal productivity. Kwesi is on a mission to help high-growth businesses that want to embed innovation management into their day-to-day functions. So, wow, thank you again for joining.
Oh man, I feel that's a great introduction. Thank you so much, Sean.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, dude. I'm glad you're on board. You know, you and I go way back, and I learned something from you every time we interact. So I'm looking forward to this conversation and get something new from you as well.
Well, thank you, Carl. And, it's a joy for me to be here with you too. I love what you're doing. And I'm so excited for the opportunity to tell you a little bit about what I've been up to, answer your questions. And then I hope to continue to see you guys drive this direction because I'm loving it.
It's funny. I was actually watching a video yesterday about that, like all kids and cats and dogs interrupting meetings. It's so hilarious, right? But it's forgiving, right? Like it is what it is.
You know what? That's the great thing about everyone going through this experience together. We all have developed tolerance. There is no more work personality and home personality. There's just who you are.
Yeah.
Okay, I think he's upstairs now. All right.
No problem, man.
Okay. So, Kwesi, tell us about yourself and your background.
Well, the best way to describe it is I like to call myself a simple boy from the islands. I spent my formative years in places like Jamaica and Trinidad, where I developed a love for all things warm, and then as well a love for technology. My background is in IT. I did a degree in computer science, and then that just led me into a career working in project management as well as operations for several large multinational companies. I then decided I'd want to learn and expand my horizons by doing a degree in business, which brought me to Canada. And since then, my journey has taken me through operations leadership for companies in retail, such as Sears Canada, as well as Walmart, and then to where I am today in operations, strategy, and development support for high growth companies.
Wow, that's a handful in that one quick introduction, but I'm going to want to unpack that a little bit more. So it sounds like an amazing, illustrious career that you've been on, like this journey in the private sector, and you're enabling business planning, and you're also doing operations development. After that, then what compelled you to launch your Fit Operations Consultant?
Well, Carl, the journey of learning about operations for me has been a lot of personal building and growth and understanding. So, if I flash back to the beginning, at the beginning, I just wanted to understand how to solve a problem using technology, algorithms, routines. I started to see with project management and change management the opportunity to not just do that through my own efforts in a computer, but through team efforts. And then in operations, I started to understand how do I scale that to address all different aspects of the business's needs. So there is the need to execute, and that is operations. There's a need to manage through change and lead teams, and that's project and operations leadership. And of course, technology is part of the equation. Where so I know it's going to be a bit of a long answer, so please stay with me. But
No,
where,
go ahead. That's what we're here for. We want to hear
let's hear
it.
it.
Yeah,
where
brilliant.
where I saw a fit operations opportunity was every company and every role that I've had, I just kept seeing that the horizon was, through how do I drive towards a horizon and how do I manage the team's execution towards a horizon which is still being updated and changed. The best companies, and I would say, are those who have many different tools in their toolkit that will help them to address the challenges of the future. And so, looking at CS Canada as an example, CS Canada was one of my early stops on my journey. And I saw a company that was an innovative company at the beginning, launching e-commerce through their catalog operation that then kind of ran out of ideas and therefore ran out of runway to get to the future. At Walmart, I saw a company that was at the top of its game from a retail operations standpoint, highly efficient, global, the largest retailer in the world. And in Walmart, I saw a company that was using innovation to power its way into the future. The future is not assured, and as any of us who've been in retail for long enough know, that industry is being disrupted with technology. And so, the best retailers are those who are going to find ways to continually reinvent themselves in order to get to that destination. And so, to answer your question, Fit Operations was born to help more companies find their roadmap to the future, using some of the practices and the learnings that I've had in my career to help founders, executives, and leaders within their own companies to develop structure and a process and a team culture to address the problems of the future, and innovation being one of the key drivers of that journey.
Mm-hmm. There's a couple of things that you mentioned, and you wouldn't think when you hear series, you wouldn't think of innovation, but you forget that they were the original when it comes to like the e-commerce play. Can you expand on that a little bit? Like, what were some of the things that you know from that perspective?
You know what? Sales does not get a lot of credit for being innovative, and just like the Encyclopedia Britannica doesn't get a lot of credit for being a store of information, because when technology happens, technology is born of ideas that usually come from solving a customer problem in the first place. So the reason that I mentioned CS Canada is I've heard it said before that CS Canada was like the original Google. Imagine where once upon a time, when, especially in Canada, as large as Canada is, if you wanted to buy a product, you had to pretty much get your family into the wagon. You had to maybe drive a few days to the closest trading outpost and buy whatever was available there. And CS Canada found a way to deliver customers at-home ordering through the use of a catalog. And what's a catalog? Who prints anything today? As well as a telephone ordering and a system or a network of delivery points. They found a way to take what consumers distributing was doing and make it even better in order to address the needs of commerce. And funny enough, that business at CS Canada at its peak was over $1 billion. Can you imagine that? Over $1 billion in sales for a catalog ordering system that was a precursor to the e-commerce business. So all of that to say, Sears Canada was an early innovator, but with retail and technology disruption, um, they had a lot to think about. They had this business that was launched through uh, this e-commerce equivalent network. They had this huge fleet of stores. They had a large workforce, and they were dealing with technology change, consumer change in their space. And I think that what they did well was they continued to operate and try to manufacture profit
Mm-hmm.
and deliver to the needs of their investor as well as their employee stakeholder. The way they took their eye off the ball was really on how do we continue to build a roadmap to the future, because with the change in technology, with online competition, with consumer expectations changing, what are we doing to keep ourselves up to date, relevant to the customer, and driving towards a future? So I think that would be how Sears Canada kind of factored into my innovation journey. They are a teachable lesson for what happens when successful companies forget about innovation.
So I'm curious to know, what have been your biggest learnings and experiences really since launching Fit Operations?
Well, there are a few learnings, and I would say one, um, innovation doesn't happen just because you use technology. So I think you can't make the use of technology equivalent to being innovative. Yes, innovation does often leverage technology, but there's always a few very key points. One, there is leadership. Innovation only happens in companies where the leadership is bought into the idea of continuous reinvention, a desire to drive towards a future, and a clear vision for one, the future is going to be success, but two, that the journey there is going to require us to accept and embrace uncertainty and to actually reward our team taking risks. The second learning I would say is that innovation is a skill that should be learned by any organization. It's not something that one person can do by themselves in the organization. I think that uh, innovation embraces the idea of diversity and inclusiveness within the organization. The more voices that you can have at the table that are providing ideas to the organization on how they need to change and the imperatives for the future, the better off the organization can be. But at the same time, for many companies, that can be challenging on how do they manage through it, because on one hand, they already have an operation that they need to address, and that's the Sales Canada example.
Mm-hmm.
Innovation is easy, and it's not, we're just all smart folks, we'll figure it out. There's actually structure and process that you can put into place that creates an environment that supports innovation. And that's the last part. The third thing from a learning standpoint is innovation is a process. It's a precursor to projects. And so a lot of folks who want to do something innovative, their thinking is, well, I'll just get a project team pulled together, we'll get a charter drawn up, and then we'll just start putting it on a schedule, we'll execute, and then we'll deliver innovation at the end of it. And that is unfortunately not the best way to treat an innovation. Projects are great for many things, but they're not necessarily great environments to do a lot of learning and failing within the organization. And so what innovation does, it creates a structure that is a feeder to projects as well as future development planning. But it does it in a safe environment that is inclusive. It brings together different skill sets. It provides the right levels of governance within the organization, and it keeps the executives engaged in the innovation process. So what it really can do in a nutshell is it's a culture builder for an organization when done well. And the companies that we look to as innovative are those that are doing the best job of actually bringing all of the different facets of their team together in an environment that promotes and supports the success of innovation for the company.
Mm. I like the term innovation as a process, and not just because I'm specialized in process and I'm a nerd that way, but I like that the thinking that it's not just at the end or at the beginning, it's a journey, right? It's a process. I'm curious, do you have any tactics that you lean on to utilize innovation through this process, through this journey?
Oh yeah. Well, you can't have a good process without having a playbook,
Yeah.
right? And so, the idea of innovation. So I threw out a couple themes, and I'm just gonna just double down a little bit on them. So
Okay.
one, you need to have a playbook for the team. That's the first thing. So I would say that the playbook is helpful because it gives everyone the rules of engagement. How do you play? How do you win? What a good job looks like. Now, if you want to create a strong culture within your organization, you need to have transparency around how do we engage with one another. And that also allows you to bring together a lot of different parts of the organization. So innovation is not the CEO's job only, but the CEO does have a role. It's not the C-suite or the VP level or only. It should be very inclusive. One of the key things that we hear about with innovation is design thinking. How do we bring our customer to the table and allow them to participate in our innovations? And I think that that's critical. So all of that to say, one of the tactics I use is an organizational playbook for innovation. And that outlines what are the rules of engagement, what are the stages that we work through together in order to develop and mature innovations, and what are the objectives at each of these stages through a stage gate approach towards maturing and nurturing innovation within the organization. I say the second tactic is something I brought from my project management background and in my experience in program management, but innovation requires program management and a program management mindset. So I maybe I'm contradicting myself when I said innovation doesn't happen in a project, but it does happen in a program. So the idea of program is really about creating structure, creating process that enables innovation, measures the progress of innovation, and keeps the team engaged with the right level of information and mindset throughout it all. Recognizing that innovation is cultural, you need to create a culture within the team that supports, structures innovation. Innovation, there are many things that innovation is, or there are many things that innovation should be, and there are many things that innovation is not. And so by having that program mindset and discipline, you can help to keep the team engaged and aware of when are we doing the right things by the way of innovation, and when is an innovation actually maturing versus when are we just spinning our wheels and maybe not getting further faster. And then the last thing, and then I'll pause, is innovation requires capital, resources, and effective resource management. And so those would be the three things that I would say have been my key learnings. And what you want to do is bring the best of capital management and resource management to innovation, so that we don't promote waste within the organization. But we also want to create an environment where it is okay to not necessarily come up with the perfect answer on day one or even day 101, as long as the organization is seeing the benefit through validating learnings, developing insights, and essentially traversing from their starting point of we don't know how to do this to we've learned a few things that are preparing us to know how we're going to do this even more effectively in the future.
Yeah, it's an observation. Yeah, and I really like how you mentioned baking innovation into culture. That's the first thing that came to mind for me. And I feel like companies that adopt this culture of innovation management can really continue to be competitive over the long term, continue providing value to customers and internal operations. They almost position themselves to operate in an evergreen state by continuously addressing the needs of both the staff as well as customers. Is that?
Yeah. Yeah, you know what, Sean, I was thinking about it, and you're so right. I love the terminology evergreen state. There are so many benefits, like externality benefits of being a company that has embraced innovation and embedded it into your culture. Of course, one of them is that you have more ideas than your competition on how you want to address the future. And not just ideas that you haven't really pressure tested, but ideas that are in your, call it bailiwick, that are going to be coming to fruit before too long. I was thinking, there's this saying that I like, heights of great men or great companies reached and kept were not attained by sudden flight, but while their companions slept, toiled upward throughout the night. And so what I believe that innovation is that process of filling your cup with ideas that are going to materialize in terms of success into the future. Once you have those ideas and you've nurtured them and you've matured them, this is what you're going to be shipping in the fall. This is what you're going to be shipping in spring 2022. And here's how you're going to be building that funnel towards the future. And I would say that it's recognized both by the market, because the market loves when companies are doing things that are new, exciting, and successful. If you think about Apple as a company, one of the most valuable companies in the entire world, $1 trillion valuation, and not just because we all like their last product, but because we are super excited about what their next product is going to be. And they continue to find ways to stay ahead of the curve. The second thing is that you start winning, and you win even more with the right level of talent. Everyone wants to be with a successful business. And so when you've developed a reputation for being exciting, for staying ahead of the curve, and for having a very enlightened sense of what the future looks like, you start winning with the right level of talent coming into your organization, wanting to be a part of whatever you're building. And so, and then the last part is from a current employee standpoint, it is so engaging and rewarding to work with companies that have a clear vision of the future, that have plans that they're putting into action. And not just that, but you can be involved. In the best innovation environments, anyone can have a great idea and help to lead that all the way from the start of, hey, you know what I think we could do? Or here's what I think would help our company and I'll help our customer, and lead it as a part of the team that actually builds it into the future for the success. So it's a highly rewarding experience to work with a company that is embracing innovation, and it helps them to differentiate themselves in the war for talent. And we know that gaining talent is something that more and more leaders spend their time thinking on today.
And I like the embracing innovation. I want to know, based on your experience, I know it's only 2021, but from 2020, 2021, embracing innovation, has that excelled? Has that changed? Like, what are you seeing where most companies now, because for me, I see that it's accelerated, but I'm not sure if every company is embracing innovation. What's your standpoint on that?
I would say that, well, there are two things that come to mind. One, the word innovation means many different things depending upon who's using the word. Mm-hmm. So I hear a lot more in the market about innovation, and companies talk about innovation. It's a buzzword. And so when I speak about innovation, I want to be clear. I'm speaking about a very structured, disciplined practice that is executed through a playbook with rigor, that is engaging and involved to the company, that requires leadership buy-in as well as capital and resource commitment. So that's what I mean by innovation. Okay. As far as embracing innovation, it really requires leadership buy-in. So I've seen companies that have said, "Oh yes, we want to be innovative, and I want exactly what you are bringing to the table." But then the CEO said, "You know what? I'm not prepared to take a risk. So you have to you have to assure me that this is going to work 110% within the first 6 months. Otherwise, uh, I don't think I want to invest time and energy into the project." And then I said, well, in that environment, it'll be a tough time guaranteeing that an innovation will go to operational maturity within 6 months. The reality of it is, you have to be patient. You have to value learning. You have to want to fill your funnel for the future in order to say that you are going to be an innovative company. And so I know at that point in time, the leadership mindset is not quite there as yet. On the flip side, uh, you have these companies, and if we all look into what's happening in the entrepreneurial space, the tech space in Canada, in North America, around the world, you have all of these digital startups. And by very definition, these folks are looking at a different way of solving a problem, and they're using technology and all of the tools that are currently available through technology as well as the internet to address problems. So I see that innovation is something that's being embraced at large by the market. My only watch out for those companies is, I love what you're doing. I think that it's amazing and exciting when we see a new way of solving a problem, but don't become the next CS Canada. And I don't say that as a negative at CS Canada. I really appreciated everything I learned in that environment. But one of the things I learned was you have to be ready with the next idea. So as soon as your idea gains product market fit, you move to operational scaling. A lot of your attentions and resources will go towards the operations management for the day-to-day. Innovation is that evergreen process that Sean spoke about that makes sure that you have something in the funnel, something in the tank to power your way into the future. And so I encourage leaders to ensure that your innovation process continues to deliver to the future needs, even while your operations process is taking care of today as well as call it the next 3 months. You need a process to power the next